Bonnie, you got the camera rolling? Okay, great. At 6:30, we'll get started. Monday, April 6th, for our Planning Commission workshop. Call to order. We got a note taker. It's going to be Tom. Looks like everybody's here tonight. I don't think we're missing anybody. So all present and accounted for. First thing on our agenda is normally a public comment. We got two residents tonight. Are you just here to ask us anything or just listen in and see what we do at the workshops?
Both.
Okay.
You guys have been discussing graph extension.
Yes.
We live on the corner of East Lancaster and Perry Hwy at 603, the yellow farmhouse there. And our question is, the extension, how's it going to affect traffic at that intersection?
If you know.
Yeah, I mean,
That I don't know, but what I'll just tell you is he is building an addition on the back of his building to store his form work that doesn't do well when it's out in the snow and ice, and then he has to use it.
so it's really not an expansion of the business.
Correct. He's building an addition off the back that it's storage.
For storage.
And
It's more like a lean-to, yeah.
It's not even enclosed.
Yeah, it's not fully enclosed.
Oh,
It'd be like
okay.
3 sides, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, it's just to protect his equipment.
Yeah, we weren't sure because there's already so much traffic
It's quite a
coming
bit of
up
truck traffic coming
up our way.
Our
So-
understanding is it's just to cover the equipment that's already there, that is exposed to the elements.
Because if you read it, you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what you're discussing in your minutes that we read is like,
It's
like the
It's a
business
concern.
expanding for.
Thank you.
Normally in addition, if it was a residence or something, it wouldn't come through us and wouldn't go to the supervisors. But because it's in the industrial area, and he is encroaching on one of his leach fields, but it's the alternate, so he's going to maintain using the one they're using and then put a new alternate leach field further back on the property. But it's not changing what he's currently using. It's just if that was to go bad and he needed an alternate site, they wanted assurance that there was another place he could put one, which there is. I guess the one that's there has been performing fine since they put it in, so I don't see any problem. But yeah, the expansion is simply just him building a metal building behind his existing to store. I think what he was telling me was a lot of the formwork they use, if it's out getting a foot of snow on it, it's really tough for them to clean that off and then take it to a job site. So, they'll keep it out of the weather and then they can use that a little bit easier without having to deal with de-icing and everything like that.
And that makes sense.
Thank you for explaining.
Yes, we appreciate it. That's it?
Okay, well, you're welcome to stay tonight. We're going to be talking.
Yeah, it's interesting. If
We're
you
going
don't
to be,
mind.
no, that's fine.
All right.
So we're updating some of our ordinances, the subdivision and land development ordinance, our planned residential development ordinance, our zoning ordinance, and then we're also talking about a data center ordinance. And if you live down near the industrial area, that's probably where they would go, but we want to put at least framework in so that if a data center was to come in, there's a lot more requirements for them to follow rather than right now there's nothing. And so we would like to make sure that our township's protected, and then also an ingress for new developments. So that's what we'll be talking about tonight. If you get too excited and need to leave a little bit early, that'll be okay, but you're welcome to sit and listen as long as you can.
Not worried, but want to be informed of the new developments going on within the township because we do live on Perry Highway.
Mhm.
So not
That's it.
impacted, by anything that's going on.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
All right, so first order of business, I think I'm going to ask Tom to give us an update on Paige Place. I guess he heard back from Penndot on their HOP, the highway occupancy permit request.
Correct, yeah, we had reached out, as one of the conditions of the supervisors was for them to consider a boulevard access, even though you had not recommended that to supervisors, which made sense to see if there's some safety concern in the event something happens at the entrance. Penndot's permit inspector basically came back and said that they don't like boulevards for a couple of different reasons. One of those is they're considering it's a local road and needs to follow the minimum use driveway requirements. Because of that, it has a 20 to 24 foot width stipulation for their regulations. The boulevard would be 40 feet wide at minimum. So from that perspective, they don't like them, they wouldn't permit it, they wouldn't allow it on that stretch. But then they also raise concerns on boulevards that seem to have a lot of issues, safety concerns, people pulling in the wrong road. You get 2 lanes coming in, for whatever reason, they pull in the wrong one, they get vegetation that tends to grow out, so then it impacts your view. So they try to discourage boulevards when they can. So I just figured I'd pass that along to you as well. And you may factor that in, because that's part of your proposed saldo is to consider, is that there can't do a secondary access that they consider a boulevard. So, but that's just Penndot's viewpoint.
So does Penndot prohibit it, or are they recommending against it?
They, in this case, they prohibited. They would need to have a strong justification as to why it's needed in order to consider.
Did they say what that strong justification would be in terms of number of homes or anything like that?
No, I mean, this one, I think, had 891 trips. It wasn't near any threshold. It's still low volume traffic concern. So I think maybe if you did have a lot more, they might consider something else, but I would then consider that they would want maybe a signal if it warranted it versus something else just to protect the intersection.
Remind us how many homes, 70 something, wasn't it? Or how many
124
units?
is,
124.
How many?
124?
124, okay. And in 124, they still didn't want anything.
Correct.
Okay.
Now I have to go back and look. Heading south, is there a turn lane going to the right? Like,
No, they only have one going northbound.
because they're coming down over that hill pretty fast off of Log Cabin, and there's nowhere up. I mean, it's just a straight up stop, like to turn in there.
Correct.
That was a concern I had, just thinking, I drive that all the time. You get a semi truck or a dump truck coming down that road, they get past Log Cabin, what are they're gonna go, and then you're on that hill. There's nowhere else to go. I'm
No,
surprised
well,
PennDOT didn't require it.
Will PennDOT look at, and I think maybe it was Connie, somebody brought up one time about the speed limit ought to be, it wouldn't hurt to lower the speed limit going through there. Would that be up to PennDOT? Is that something we can recommend to
So
PennDOT?
the township would need to request that PennDOT review the speed limit in that section.
Okay,
Then PennDOT would review it and determine if there's any value to lowering the speed limit. So PennDOT just can't do it, it would have to come from the township request.
from the supervisors?
Yes.
Can the
It's really-
planning commission suggest to the supervisors that they look into that?
Certainly you could. And again, it's just it's a matter of making a formal request saying, we want you to study this basically when the development's going in, to say, can you look at lowering the speed limit, to 45 miles?
Was that 55 down
It's
through
40,
there?
I don't know where exactly it changed, it's 45 going past Log Cabin, and then it goes back to 55 as you start going down the hill. I just don't know where that exact switch is.
Okay. So much
Mike
I
had a
care.
question.
Yes, I saw your email today, Tom. I reached out to a couple highway engineers,
Okay.
just because I kind of was wondering what was going on, and kind of in line with what Bob's saying here. They said it's definitely not prohibited, and the footages that you gave, they actually sent me PennDOT publication 13M, which shows lane widths and based on ADTs that you gave me, and the numbers are, it's a minimum, a maximum, it's a minimum of 9, preferred 11 per lane. So they prefer for a rural ADTs 4,000, 2,000. They want a minimum of 11 foot per lane, and they said there's absolutely no issue with putting 44 foot in. And they gave me 3 examples on 19 that already have boulevard style entrances. So I guess I don't understand why they would. I mean, it's up to the planning commission; they can do what they want. But I mean, I'm questioning. Did they say it is prohibited?
They did not say prohibited, but they said in this case they wouldn't allow it. Unless it was,
Prohibited to me.
well, unless it was justified, and I guess I don't know what that justification would be. And that's where, again, the district engineer for PennDOT, that's what he had mentioned, so.
I'd just be curious to see, because this is the highway engineers that I spoke to seem to disagree. They do this kind of stuff for PennDOT. So, as said you could get a different opinion from a different.
Oh, you certainly
engineers.
could, that's,
They
he's
said
the one
so.
that issues the permit, so that's why.
I'm just, and they sent me this, and I'm looking at it right here, and it's like, is this really legit, or, I mean,
Yeah, that's why I went to him directly to say, hey, the township's concerned, we only have one access. You know, the boulevard would allow us two accesses and we're going to try that.
one of the things you said, and Bonnie relayed it too in an email today, and maybe I misunderstood it, but your single ingress, egress plans that the planning commission had worked on before, you didn't say anything about boulevard, did you? I don't think there was any mention of a boulevard, or maybe I missed it.
No, right now, the way it's written is, if they exceed 40 homes, we want 2 entrances. Well, we did not specify a boulevard, and our discussion, kind of evolved around, if they cannot meet that, they can come in and ask for a waiver. And one option on a waiver might be, would like to put a boulevard entrance in, since we can't really get 2 separate entrances that are, I think it's 150 feet apart. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that is I got an email from Bonnie this morning, and you probably not be on that she seems to think your single ingress egress includes a boulevard. And you just said the same thing.
It's, the way it's written now, the boulevard is written in to the ordinance as an option if you can't provide 2 entrances.
In the saldo,
In the
not
saldo.
the new
Not the
Ingress.
new, okay.
Right.
It's
On
on
the
the
saldo,
Okay, the way Bonnie brought up is that when you do your new ingress egress, we have to consider you not having a boulevard sign, which I didn't know you were planning on having.
So I was thinking this as we're talking too, because Penndot will not allow that on Route 19, which is a, highway, high speed, higher traffic, does not mean that the township couldn't allow that on our own roads, right? So we still might like that if they're pulling off of Scott Ridge or Whitestown or any of the, any other roads main roads, we may still allow that or even encourage it, but.
I'm just saying that there's currently on Route 19, 3 commercial businesses that do have boulevard style entrance, and they gave them as examples. So I can't believe Penndot, they did that without occupancy card.
No, they probably did, but again, this person's been in that role for about a year. So it may have changed. They may have decided what they want to do, but again, he's the latest district engineer.
Where are the 3, Mike?
So it's, the plan where, or the commercial, the five Bilo, right? Is it Bilo? The Bilo gas
Convenience
station.
store.
Yeah, whatever it's called, I don't know what it's called. Then down from them, there's the,
That's Harmony.
what?
No, bylaws in Harmony, isn't it?
But it's on.
It's still on
It's
19.
And, where the physical fitness place is, used to be burgers in there.
Yeah.
Subway in there.
The plaza, Creekside Plaza.
The new Starbucks has it too.
I didn't even consider that, okay. And the other one wasn't on 19, it was on, I'm sorry, I did say that it was on 19. It was, right by the, new steam fitters. As a boulevard.
Where you go into Bilo where they got the traffic light now, is that considered a boulevard with that
Yeah, it's just
thing?
a vibe, they got a giant sign. They didn't have to write there.
But that's been there for, what, 30 years? I don't know.
But the other 2 are newer.
Yeah.
On the one that the always that were going in right there, like you said, by the Starbucks and the bank, on that entrance, but the other entrance doesn't have it.
The only reason I brought them up is that engineer gave us some of these examples nearby to us that already have numbers. So I don't know on all these things. I was more concerned about it.
So even, just a question here, and I know like where Aldi's is, that's not divided very far. So is a boulevard is that still considered a boulevard even if it's only divided?
Well,
I don't know if it's 40 feet.
That's a boulevard style entrance.
Okay.
So, but the supervisors were proposing boulevard to the first
I
end,
know.
just to make effective use
Mhm.
of the roads and, for safety.
Well, I'm not sure. I'd rather see a right turn lane on 19 than a boulevard. I think that would be in that particular location.
Yeah.
So should we, as the planning commission, recommend to the supervisors, we'll have to vote on it in our next meeting, but that they consider reaching out to Penndot and reevaluating the need for a right turn lane.
I would be in favor of that, 100%.
Isn't that right turn lane simply based on traffic count and everything else?
It
And
is.
PennDOT would already review that.
Correct.
So I don't know what a request to re-review is gonna do. It's like an objection in court, and you object to your objection being overruled, and where's it gonna go?
I think there it's the line of sight that's the issue. It's not the fact that it's cars
If they
coming down that
would have
road.
reviewed, PennDOT would have in the HOP reviewed all of that. They reviewed traffic counts, speed, and sight distance, all as
yeah,
part of the review
The
process.
slope, everything.
And all
Yeah.
that's reviewed in that HOP review process.
And Wrigley could probably, Don Rogers River could probably contest that also, right?
I don't know where that goes, I just know that the HOP is reviewed. Before it's issued, all of those criteria go into that review. So asking for a re-review of speed limit or anything else is pointless exercise, because it's already been reviewed with those criteria in mind. It's not like, oh, we never thought of that.
Does,
It's all part of the
Well,
list.
I agree, but I think if the township supervisors express a concern, we're local here, I think it'd be better than not saying anything if we believe they should do it. They could still turn us down, would be on the record as saying it's needed.
I don't object to doing that, I just question.
I agree, once the HOP permit's done, they've already reviewed all that,
No
but
way.
they didn't review that with public comment or local township comment that said, we really think you need one there, we'd like to see that for the safety of our residents.
With the log cabin, they're gonna modify their entries too, so you got the steep hill, and now you're gonna build a turning lane, and he has to come back a pretty far distance, at least a couple hundred feet, so it could encroach upon the log cabin entrances that they're designing. I think that would,
Yeah, there's two, I believe they're trying to restrict that to two
you're gonna have
entrances
a lot of gum up
instead
there.
of, basically all the frontage entrance.
Well,
And then do we still want a boulevard? I mean, because we could,
Just,
so Mike,
question, so number one is, plan commission, you can recommend answer the question, anything you want to supervise, you can ask us that piece. It doesn't matter, no, seriously, you can make any, let's confirm that. You can make any recommendation you want, however, I agree with Bob, you're gonna, in this particular case, it's the Penndot rules. So, and on top of that, even if you do recommend a board, which I personally recommend you do, since there's nothing in our ordinance that's forcing it, the developer needs to say no. So, I mean, just things to keep in mind.
that's why we pulled it out last time. We didn't feel like it met our objectives, and we couldn't make them do it. The supervisors asked them to add it back in. And there was a woman here at the supervisors meeting last time that was a highway engineer who gave her opinion that does need to have additional safety constraints that,
Yeah, so I would recommend it.
They-
They recommend the boulevard, do whatever you want. Just remember, it's a recommendation, not hands are tied, not crossing. Good
So-
point.
Bob,
I would contest that permit simply because it's the
does the engineer actually come out and look at the road, or does she just look at the map or something and
The HOPs that I've had, there has been a visual inspection as well. So there is a visual inspection as part of it. I don't get into too many HOPs because it's only on state roads. Most developments are done off of, township roads instead. But the ones I have done, there has been a
Okay.
on-site review as well.
which I'm glad. I didn't know if they just wrote it up and they don't really know exactly without looking.
And there's more to it than that too, because you actually have to put those ribbons out to count traffic and you pay for all this stuff along with the developer, is paying for all this stuff along the way, so it all goes in the mix.
Okay.
I think,
the police always, they patrol at the end of 19. I wonder if the police could get a little more active on that hill, because it's,
Well, I'll just say that, like,
I don't think you're gonna regulate the
people
speed.
pull out of Arden, pull out and go 40 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, and that's 55, right? They pull right in front of people, and there's a ton of sight line. And there's a middle lane for them to, like, swerve around or get around. I don't know. Like I said, I drive out the road how many times a day? So I'd prefer to at least recommend it, at least run the record, as saying we thought it could be a concern. If
either
there's nothing the supervisor can
right
do.
turn lane or reduce the speed limit in that reach, would, give them some options. Okay. What do you think, Tom? Is it worth our time and effort?
I think there's two issues. One is speed. And you can always recommend that the township ask Penndot to look at the speed to potentially reduce it. I think that's an obvious one that probably needs to be done. You know, there's no harm in saying what you want to do with the right turn lane. You think you need a right turn lane. Again, Penndot's criteria is they're either going to say yes or no based on number of trips and what's the intended use. So, you know, from that perspective, it'll fall into their cards and their diagram will basically dictate what they do. So,
Now, if the third lane is put in there, is that the contractor's dime or PennDOT's dime?
it would all be developer, and when they gotta put a turning lane in, even the left turn lane, it's all the developer's cost.
Okay.
It is, and it's not cheap.
No.
You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to put that lane in.
Mhm.
And it's extremely likely for a challenge, because they've already issued an HOP permit.
Well, they have,
Oh, they haven't? Oh, I thought,
they have not.
oh, okay.
It's part of the final plan, they'll need to have that HOP.
Okay, so they don't have the
They
HOP.
do not have the
Okay.
HOP.
So there is, okay.
So there is room, there's a window
Little
that's open.
wiggle. Now, the other thing to remind the group here of tonight is this is a work session, and we can't vote on anything.
Yeah.
So,
And I said that, we'll have to vote next meeting, yeah, if we want to do that, to recommend to the supervisors.
Are
But,
we allowed to interject at all? Do you have people to say anything or no? This is your workshop.
This is our workshop, I do allow public comment, but thank you for asking, yes, go ahead.
I'll just say one thing. I live at the top of the hill, and I go to Aldi's all to get branch, so I'm going back and forth all the time. The only thing I would say to you is, so we come down the hill, and a log cabin has a lot of odd traffic. They back in, they back out, and 45 is fine. And I'll hit that 55 because there's nothing to stop me. I like, great, 55, and I'm gonna go down that hill to get to Aldi's. Or wherever, Bibles. And that's fine, but if there's a development coming in, I do agree with 45. Like, stop me from going there.
Is there any there's no downside to this commission interjecting with the district engineer that if we think you should go to 45, we think you should put a right-hand turn in because of the local knowledge of what is happening on that hill as people come down.
Right, like, that
So,
55 is good, but other traffic comes
I
in.
believe that you should be on the record saying what you think. That
Yeah.
in case something does happen in the future, we'd say, we've been here before, look, we've done this.
Document.
And, now it's come to fruition. And you go to the district engineer and say, now what is there?
I can answer that a little bit. I don't actually think there's a huge downside at all.
Right.
The thing to just be careful of is it's a balancing act too. You can't cry wolf too many times, because then they start to ignore you. So, as long as you're balancing some of that, there's not a huge downside here on a, case by case kind of basis.
Yeah, I wouldn't go more than once officially saying, hey, this is what we think.
Well, I mean, the thing is not just respect for this development.
Right.
We cry wolf for every single development down the street.
Right, true.
The PennDOT basically starts to ignore you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I'm just saying 55 is great now. I hit that, it's great 55 because there's nothing there to stop me. But 55 is too fast. I would just suggest 45 is good, all the way down, with all that new traffic coming in. That's my only opinion, I'm done.
Yeah, I anticipate at some point across the road from Paige Place, there's another big vacant piece of land. It's likely gonna see something very similar, so that's gonna add more
Yes.
properties there. No harm in being proactive and asking for
Yeah.
that.
It's always been weird to me, 55, 45, and then I think it's 50 somewhere up the road, and then
Yeah.
45.
Yeah, when you come out of Middlesex Township going up,
It's like, why is
it goes to 50. And the cops.
I mean, the speed limit's the easier thing to do, that's at least something,
Mhm.
I think. So, to have that sign coming down south at least now before you pull out cabin saying congested area ahead, which is nice. to at least have that, but I think changing that speed limit, it'll take a couple of years, but.
My experience with Penndot is that they always will be conservative, so if they get requests, I think that they would.
Okay, well, I think at our next meeting then, we'll recommend that the supervisors request PennDOT to look at the speed limit, reevaluate the speed limit and the right turn lane, give them our preferences, and the supervisors can then do what they choose to do in regards to contacting PennDOT. All right.
Who is the current district engineer?
Dan Tyler.
So, Tom, just from my knowledge, to recommend something like this to the supervisors, and Mike jump in too, how do we do that? Do we, you know, we vote on it and we decide we want to make that recommendation to write something up? Do we, you know, how's that transmitted? I don't know the protocols.
So, good question. I know you guys are trying to work on it, solve it, you're not making any progress at this point. I don't want to interject, but we've made some mistakes. We've moved quickly, communication has been an issue. I want to admit to my guilt in that as well. Did this at the last meeting, and I heard some statements that were made. We as board of supervisors with these workshops and our meetings now are going to try to make a motion or a resolution for everything we do. So our next workshop meeting, literally 2 items on there is discuss how we formally instructed you to do the data center ordinance, even though you're already working on it, and formally instruct you to do the single ingress egress ordinance, even though you're working on it.
But that's, just interrupt briefly, you're talking about those being standalone ordinances instead of waiting to incorporate those into the master.
That is what's going to be discussed, yes, so correct. So I apologize for any miscommunication on that. We discussed it, I think we were standing there once after a meeting. We've also discussed it in executive session, which we shouldn't be discussing at an executive session. That's why I did that on film. But anyway, we're going to make it as formal as possible. So there's 3 different people who have 3 different opinions. And as you heard, we said, yes, the planning commission should run with it, but we never made a motion to do this standalone ordinance. So one of the board of supervisors does not want to do this standalone ordinance. So in fairness, we have to discuss it. And he may convince one of the other of us to vote for it, because it just takes a majority. So to answer your question, yeah, it's not, at this point in time, we have not formally even stated that you should be doing either of these. You're already doing them anyway. So just to clarify that, I also heard in the meeting that, I guess one meeting that one of the supervisors came and said he was the liaison to the planning commission. That was inappropriate, out of line, never decided upon. And I heard also that you stated that, I think you said you heard, or I said that I was, yeah, on the video, I watched the video at the last meeting. Yeah, you heard that I was the liaison to the board of supervisors. So I am not, okay, or the planning
That's what
commission.
you.
So, whatever. I just come to these meetings, it's coming before it's elected, I'll continue coming afterwards. So, in a nutshell, the supervisors, which again we need to do formally, we decided to pull the police underneath the board of supervisors and all boards and committees underneath the board of supervisors. We decided this in executive session, and we also announced it in the board of supervisors. However, we did not make a motion to state it, so we're going to make a motion or a resolution, something whatever our solicitor recommends, just to try to get clarity and communication. And I'm not answering your question directly, but I'm trying to get to that point. So our agreement was there would be no liaison to any board or committee. The boards and committees, which would be the planning commission, the zoning hearing board, the parks committee, will all report directly to the board of supervisors. Again, I'm speaking as a resident here now, so don't take this as a supervisor. I'm just trying to give you information. To answer your question directly, we are going to try to come up with some formal method. I did create a email group of all departments. So I would say, if you have any information you want to communicate to all departments within the township, send it there. Send it for every department head. Other than that, an email to the board of supervisors is what I would do, and I think any of you can feel free to email any of the supervisors anytime you would like. I encourage you to keep us as a group, so we don't, he said, she said. And then how many workshops? But primarily the workshops, right? Yeah, I'd send that email out. If you want to recommend, you can't, like Bob said, you can't vote on it today. You can certainly send this, we're not gonna, we'll get to that. And we may say, yeah, make a motion at your next meeting. And you agree on the vote, give us the, or your recommendation. But right now, I would say at this point, you can't vote. You can say, hey, here's what we talked about. Send it to all departments, so everybody knows. The road crew knows, all the staff knows. I think it's a good idea. Just open communication.
Yeah, so we could always proactively, in spirit of coordination and communication, let them know we talked about it tonight. We're planning to
Yeah, I think-
vote on it at our next official meeting.
I think we should do the same for you.
Right.
When we talk as supervisors, because it's, you know, we'll have a meeting, we'll talk on the phone, that's why I keep saying, no, we have to have these workshops, because we can't do this in private. So now we have these workshops, and we probably should return this also the workshop to you as well, if you don't have time to watch the videos.
And the other thing that does, that advance notice, you guys could say at your next meeting, no, we don't wanna do that. And you could reply back to us, cease and desist on that idea, and then we're not wasting our time generating something that's not gonna go.
I'm gonna hope that that's not gonna, I don't think any supervisor's gonna say that's. But what it may hope is they may have an idea, they may add, oh, you know, you might want to have this. So then when you take the vote, then I have to wait another month, we say, oh, you should have this. So I just, open communication, I think is key, so I would, yes, just say what you think, or either all departments or supervisor. We have our emails, just like you did, you sent me an email, I asked you for, do you have any ideas for the board of supervisors? I wasn't expecting it, 2 pages.
The laundry list.
It's like, oh my gosh. You know what I did before the figuration?
At our meeting last week, I thought we talked about streamlining communication through the township manager.
Township manager should include in there. I agree. Absolutely. That's what that
As like a
whole
single
process
point of
is.
contact communication as the go-between between the planning commission and supervisors and.
Right, we said it would be great to have one, and with the new supervisor model where the township manager is no longer that person, Bonnie said, I would like to be that person, so,
Right.
yeah.
And I agree she should be in it. I don't agree necessarily that she should be in the open communication. Now, it's up to the other supervisors. So they can say what they say.
So,
Yeah, it'd be good to get clarity on that.
I agree. There's a lot of things we're trying, and I agree, and I'm sorry if you.
Well, the nice thing with the two standalone ordinances we have here in front of us is that the core content language is the same, whether it's standalone or in the ordinance. And as long as we write it so that it's consistent between the two and we're rehashing it when we dump it into the ordinance, we're good. And then it's just basically wrapper around it. I don't see a solicitor here. Oh, there you are. Sorry. Yes. So basically, it's a wraparound into that. We wrap that inside of the ordinance, which is boilerplate stuff anyway. So
I agree. I didn't think it was any additional work. I really didn't. I mean, whatever we do here as a standalone is just going to be incorporated into the final, whatever that is. And people like me coming to meetings, so I'm done, and not be for a year. That's my intention.
we don't get the input before we finalize things, we get it after we finalize things, and that makes it even harder, yeah, so I'd rather have it up front, and have it take a little longer than get it wrong and then have to redo it, so.
The only thing I could say is that all departments email has the department heads from every group. So Dave Carlson is in that, so I would say maintain your contact point. Well, if you want to be on that, we can add you. But you said all departments, it's going to go to Bonnie, it's going to go to all the supervisors, it's going to go to the roadmaster, it's going to go to the police chief, and it's going to go to the chairman of the council.
Yeah, that's a good plan, and we're all informed.
All others to the departments.
But still,
And the solicitor.
clarified by the board.
Pardon me?
Get that process clarified by the board.
Fair enough. Yeah, that was another one we discussed, but we all thought it was a great idea, so I did.
Yeah, just get it, make it clean.
We're trying. No, you are 100% right. So, and I'm good with what it is. Trying to change too much too fast.
Okay,
So to answer your question, you're gonna see the final plan submission for Paige Place at your next meeting. So if you have any comments, for whatever reason, if they don't have their HOP, you may table that discussion until they do, or you can make it a condition. That's where you make that recommendation if you want to, right turn lane coming down the hill, stuff like that.
Make that recommendation at the
It's
next.
part of your recommendation of whatever you're going to do with that plan. But you're going to see that plan before you're at the next.
Gonna be the bad guy.
Keep changing things.
I wrote the boulevard.
There's nothing there's never a straight path to get anywhere, is there? It's just those things. Okay.
Is the speed if they don't have an HOP? The HOP is needed to obtain final. The question would be, that's the only thing that's outstanding. You could recommend condition upon them receiving that HOP. And you could also make that condition that you'd like to see the HOP contain the right turn lane in.
So it'd be more like we would like to see, but we cannot require.
Well, you're making a recommendation, so you can make a recommendation that you'd like to see that. It's not you don't have the power to approve.
To
or
improve,
deny it.
to
You're recommending
enforce it.
approval. You want to see if you just have it.
Is there a preference? Because I know we can do it either way. We did 2 last week, where we approved them contingent upon, easements, contingent upon HOP, contingent upon them addressing the technical problems. Is that cleaner or messier than saying we're tabling everything until Tom says it's okay and you get all your stuff?
If the plan would change if they didn't get something, to me is where that becomes gray. If it's waiting on a ENS permit, it's really not going to change the plan. It's not going to change your ordinances, how you review those. So I think that's how you look at it from a recommendations.
Including things like in final, part of their final approvals obviously would be bonding and that kind of stuff, which none of that occurs until they actually have it. So those are always contingencies. There's certain always contingencies in some of these plan reviews.
Yeah, I just keep thinking about the easement at Log Cabin and then approaching Wrigley to use their access to get up to the retention pond. They hadn't even talked to them yet. So that could change things significantly.
It could, and that's why you have a preliminary plan, which means the layout they're doing is feasible. The final plan, they would have to have those secured. That would be in the case where you wouldn't probably make a recommendation until that happened.
I would agree, because that definitely.
That's a big item.
It's a big one.
But if it was just for them to get an HOP, for example, really is going to change what they're going to do. Penndot may come back and say, hey, these barriers need to be 4 inches taller or something like that. That really doesn't have an impact on how you review it. So that would most likely be a condition.
And NPD has HOP, bonding, those are all standard kind of conditions that you just live with. But yes, if they need to actually put an access road into that pond, you better see that on the plan, not make it conditional on, oh yeah, they will have one.
Well, we didn't do that last week.
Well, that was preliminary, though, so.
Okay.
And
So for preliminary, because
preliminary
they're still
can be a little
working
more
on it,
flexible.
there's a lot more flexibility.
Correct.
But the-
Preliminary is this layout going to work? Is this concept there? And if it is, then that gives them the ability to go back into the details and do all the necessary homework to do what they need.
Okay. But basically, if they can make that happen, we'll allow it. If they were proposing that and it conflicted
If
with,
they can't get it, then they would have to come back to you whenever they come back for the final plan and have all those items addressed. And most likely, they wouldn't approach you until they had addressed those items.
okay. Now, the only thing is, Wrigley's gonna come back with their plan without showing an access road up to the said pond, which would be a change. Now, whether that doesn't bother me, but, we can't require them to have that in there. They haven't even talked to Log Cabin yet, but there's the connection that's gonna be broken.
Can I go back to the speed limit thing for one more second? Sorry. Is that something to be done after the plan? Like, is that something that has to be contingent upon them getting the speed limit reduced? Is that something we could request after the plan is in?
Yeah, that's not a condition, that's a separate request to PennDOT.
Okay.
So PennDOT in their HOP says, based on the speed limit, this is what they can do. If you have safety concerns, then the township would reach out to PennDOT and say, hey, we would like you to consider reducing this to 45 for these reasons and give those reasons, and then PennDOT would review those to determine if those reasons are valid.
Okay.
And we've had cases where in other municipalities where they came back and said, we're not changing the speed limit. And in some cases they have, so.
So, I know we want to move on. So Paige Place, next time, we'll see their final. Now, if Log Cabin needs their property for the road, does that change their plan in that they're gonna have to present that to us again?
It would be a subdivision plan, that they would need to do, so they would come back to you. And that's why it's hard to say, because you can't act on something that may happen, it's what's in front of you is what you're acting on. So you could approve it, in the next month's meeting, they could come back to you and say, okay, we're gonna change this, we're gonna take this property out, we're gonna do whatever it is.
So if Paige Place, Wrigley, whoever does not, then the Log Cabin can't come to an agreement on that. The plan they would submit could be the final plan, and Log Cabin's kinda,
They would have to do something.
Log cabin has
okay,
to do
then they're
something.
opposed.
Right.
Okay.
Log cabin's not thinking ahead
I can't believe they had
And it's,
parking spots. at
they're
somebody
early
else's
in the
property.
process, they'll get there, but it's just, they missed their window to make it easier for themselves.
We missed you last week. A little.
I thought we did okay last week without Tom. I don't know.
We did, I reviewed it, and it was fine.
Well, I wished you were here, so you gotta take a break every once in a while. Okay, we're gonna move on. How about that? So I had Tom make some copies for us of the data center and the Ingress, Egress. I would really like to finish the recreational part of the Saldo so that we can have him at one of our future meetings get us a final draft of that, or at least, because I hate to leave that set. I don't think we have much more on the recreation, so.
I would only offer that the one page, this emergency, is pretty simple. I don't know if we can try to get a bird and a half. What do you think?
I'm good either way. I mean, the ordinance, draft ordinance is here, and this was
I
the.
know we talked about this a lot, the ingress, but I didn't know. I'll take your.
Mr. Vice Chairman, you have opinion on
Well,
what direction?
number one, I haven't looked at the recreational stuff in, almost 2 months now, so I really don't know exactly where we were on it. With respect to the egress ordinance stuff, I'm actually a little confused as to why we're looking at two separate things here. Because I think the content should essentially be consistent between the two. So I don't know exactly why we've got two somewhat conflicting pieces of paper in front of us.
Well, two reasons. This is what I was sent. Number two, wanted us to look at both and see if there was one we preferred. One's very short, one's a little bit more detailed. And then the thing for discussion on the subdivision with the extra access, the emergency access, that showed up in this one, but I knew we were against emergency access, so it's highlighted, and I said for discussion. So that was, we don't like it, we scratch it out, we delete it. Mike.
Sorry to interrupt. So you asked me to send you the Jackson Township one, which I sent you a long ago. So I'd say throw that away. I did what you asked me to do.
For which one are we?
The Jackson Township one, that has the secondary access, because you guys already talked.
Is this the one?
Yeah, it's the single one that
It's the single page, this one?
It's the one that has the second access.
and I made some revisions.
So I highlighted everything that you guys already took out.
Mhm.
So they should be the same without all that stuff.
So you're saying if we ignored this and concentrated on that,
Yes.
would be a recommendation?
Yes.
This is what you guys already talked about. This is what you guys already talked about. I gave you this close.
Yeah.
You guys all need to take this out.
Because I had a number of comments on the single page, the Jackson Township one, that that I sent around in an email, and again, a lot having to do with, I really don't care for the emergency access up.
I think we're all in agreement that we're not gonna even entertain emergency access. So I would rather that be out, so.
So if we're gonna take a look at the other one, that's the one that starts with the ordinance number 2026 at the top of it. Do we want to just start going through this? How do you want to approach this? Or do you want to go back to the
I think he was asking you for
my
your
recommendation
opinion.
would be start here.
Okay.
because I'm not up to speed on the rec stuff again. It's been sort of a back burner a little too long for me. I have to bring myself back up to speed. I'm more up to speed on these ones. So if that's good with everybody, I think we concentrate here.
Yeah, because I've been having you lead these discussions anyhow, so yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Because I think we can knock this out tonight.
Well, yeah, because we've already made a lot of progress on this front with what's in Saldo anyway.
Mhm.
So I think it's a combination of look at this, see what's in here, see what's in our Saldo, merge what we like, come up with something that's going to be language that we can live with both in the standalone version and then that same language just be copied right into the Saldo itself.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
We can ignore the first page. The first page is the boilerplate wrapper that the solicitor dictates there. So moving on to the second page, it comes down to, again, even some of this is boilerplate. I don't have any serious comments on most of it. My comments started on A2 on traffic, on the development that create risk related to emergency vehicle access, evacuation during fire, traffic congestion, roadblocks, school crash, or my only comment with that was, I think the three to four of those are very legitimate reasons. Traffic congestion at 40 units is really questionable. It's a very low number for an issue to be traffic. So I think if you're writing the ordinance, and this applies more to the standalone, because this is the part of the wrapper in a standalone that justifies why you're doing this to begin with. It's in the Saldo, it's just in the Saldo. But I would actually be encouraging taking traffic congestion out of that, because someone could easily argue that 40 does not create traffic congestion, you shouldn't be doing this. And if you really want to do this, you maybe don't want to give that kind of an answer to the thing. So, any comments?
I concur with that.
That sounds good. Could we use the term traffic blockage instead? Like, what if there was like a traffic,
The next
Well,
one's
the next one
roadblock.
does, roadblock,
Oh,
crash,
okay.
blah, blah, blah.
there you go.
Yeah, and that's the one that it basically.
So it's really an
tree falls across-
emergency, it's really an emergency.
Yeah, tree falls across the road, anything like that, you got a blockage issue, that's taken care of by the force.
Sorry.
Traffic congestion is usually related to things like, he's got way too many cars coming to this intersection and doing it. And you're not gonna get that with 40 homes, it's just not gonna happen.
Right.
That would be a lot of massive parties simultaneously with development, so.
Okay.
That was just a minor point at the beginning of that.
But Bob, what happens if the development is 150 homes? Then there would be more road congestion.
Sure, but at 150 homes, we're requiring 2 accesses.
Okay, so this is for under 40 homes.
This is saying the reason
Okay,
you need
I
this-
understand, okay, I
The
got
reason
you.
we're justifying this is, it's dangerous to have a single point of access if you've got more than 40 points of
Okay.
homes. And these are the reasons why. Traffic congestion really doesn't apply.
Okay, I follow now.
And maybe at 100, maybe at 150.
I'm sorry.
applies,
Okay.
Not really at 40. I sent an email out while I was gone in response to some of this. I don't know if anyone read it, but my question on C1. I like the language we had put in the the Saldo to begin with, which said, two entrances shall be provided for any development that exceeds 40 housing units, unless the developer requests a variance due to topography hardship, no access to other arterial or collector roads for insufficient frontage. If that is the case, then alternatives such as boulevards or emergency accesses would be required. I'm not a fan of emergency accesses still, but my point is, language that says more something along those lines compared to the language that's in here would be my preference. I think you need to have some description of what options exist in the event that it can't be done, if the topography does not allow it to for whatever reason.
We should provide what we would find acceptable.
Well, not necessarily what we find acceptable, but at least have a path to something. And if, I think boulevards are still a reasonable approach then, because they answer a number of these questions. I've never liked emergency accesses. I shouldn't say that. I don't like unmaintainable emergency accesses. That's what I don't like. If it's something that you're going to put in the responsibility of an HOA to maintain, that goes down through the woods to connect to another road, and when it needs to be used 10 years from now, it's not going to be usable. So what's the point of having it? I'm not a fan of that. But if there's some other way we could craft that, and I don't know, Tom, if there is, that you could have, I know like gated communities in Florida have lots of these emergency accesses in the cul-de-sacs required. But typically we're talking a 50-foot stretch with a gate across, and it's in a community big enough to maintain. If something like that existed, I'd be fine with it. I don't know how to make that exist.
Yeah, I considered the maintenance part of it until you brought that up, that no one's gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
They're not, so it's not gonna be useful anyhow, so.
Especially in our topography. We're not talking a big flat piece of land with a 50-foot access. We're talking a 500-foot access road, gravel through the woods. It's just, it's not real.
So for that section, we're just gonna revise it to include verbatim what's in our current saldo that we revised.
Well, that was my proposal, other than I didn't like the emergency access, and I made them really strike emergency access.
We spent a lot of time on that to get that verbiage right, so
And I'm fine.
I think we ought to just
I'm fine
adopt.
with leaving it the way it is until.
Well, I'd rather adopt the saldo, then it's the same.
I'm fine with that.
Bob, you know offhand what page of the Saldo that's on, either is.
I did the Saldo.
Are you referring to on page 44?
I don't know where to put it.
Yeah, it's on page 44. I don't have the extra verbiage on there right now.
Yeah, I don't have the extra
Okay.
verbiage
It
either.
must be, I think it's on the version that he's
Okay.
currently working on.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have it on, I just know that was in my comments.
Well, I think it
I
makes
thought
more
I
sense
pasted it, I'm not
to
sure.
match those
Mhm.
best we can.
Right.
So does the current draft saldo include any discussion of emergency access allowance? I can't remember.
I don't believe we
I
did.
don't see it.
Kept it
That's what I was
silent.
looking for. But maybe I'm missing it. I only see the part where we edited about the 2 entrances.
Do you see that anywhere, Tom?
That's what I look for now. Give me a second.
So it's section 243-28, that helps. And our paragraph F.
Yeah, the 2 entrances.
The emergency is not listed.
Because I kind of think we need a C here, but don't define it. Keep it broad brush, so it's like, you can't do this, you gotta provide emergency, and it's gotta be acceptable to the township or the fire marshal or something like that, and that's it. Don't try to overload it.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was, yeah, I found it on 243-28. You're right. When I was writing mine, I put all emergency accesses to make it consistent with that other ordinance that you were throwing out here. But that is correct, that was not in our language of the proposed salvo. I'm more than happy not to put it in.
So what you're suggesting is on this, C1 would be replaced with what we have worked
The
on.
exact language on 24328F. That's what I'm proposing. We make that the language that we've already discussed in the salvo.
2 entrances shall be provided for any development that exceeds 40 housing units.
Yeah, unless the developer requests a variance due to topography hardship, no access to other arterial or collector roads, or insufficient frontage. If that is the case, then boulevards then alternatives such as boulevards would be required. And that's the language we worked on for the salvo, and I'm good with that language.
Yeah.
I don't like emergency access.
If we allow the boulevard, we don't need the emergency access, and it kind of forces them into putting one in if they can't get two regular entrances.
Or they come up with an alternative we haven't thought of, and they propose it's a waiver, which I'm fine with. There's smarter people in the world than we are. So they can come up with something else and propose it, and it's a good idea, we can accept it.
Okay. All right. You got that in the notes, or Tom?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay, moving on.
I know this is really challenging.
Okay, so the next piece. Oh, the next piece that I found interesting, number 2, on C2, what I did like is I like the fact that all proposed dwelling units is added there. That the count includes not just the existing dwellings, or not just the new dwellings, it's count the existing ones too. So if you're already on something that has 10 homes on it, that matters. So I did like, and I made the comment we should be adding that back to the salvo number. So that's, those sentences we need to make consistent with back the other direction, update our salvo to match this. Any comments on that?
I like that.
I agree.
I agree.
So I think one of the things I thought was maybe missing from here, and maybe it's covered somewhere else, but do we need to add it in here? Is there a minimum, I'm looking at Tom, is there a minimum distance that we're requiring between the 2 entrances?
150 feet, I believe I saw that somewhere.
It's in the regular salvo.
Okay. Do we need to add that in here?
I think.
No, it shouldn't need to be because it's already included in the
It's in the
salvo. So we can
existing.
change it from there. So it already be covered. So moving to D, if no one else has comments.
Move to D.
Should be 40 or more.
I had a comment on D1 for phase developments, and I'll just read what I had written in the email. I don't think this is clear enough. I'm not against the secondary access being constructed in a later phase, but the word provision is unclear. From my reading, this could mean either one, that the secondary entrance must exist as soon as you construct the phase that exceeds the 40, say phase 2 of a 3-phase project, or 2, that the fact that a future phase will implement the second entrance is sufficient. Say phase 3 implements the second entrance, but phase 2 already puts the total at 50 homes. From a development construction perspective, I believe that 2 is completely sufficient. But for the township protection, we should probably require that this access be bonded in phase 2, even though implemented in phase 3. This protects the township as phase 3 plans change. Often in a development, you get partway through and then you change your mind, you have to redevelop, economic conditions change, whatever it happens to be. So say you've already built this development and it's a 3-phase thing. You get in the second phase with the promise that in phase 3 you're gonna do something, but no bonding sitting there to actually make you do something. And then economic conditions change, you have to scrap the rest of the development, whatever it happens to be. Now all of a sudden, you're not in compliance. I'm just proposing that we need to decide what do we mean by make provisions here. I lean towards, if we're really trying to protect the township, let's make sure that, yes, if it's gonna be implemented in phase 3, that's okay, but you better bond it to get there. Comments, suggestions, I don't have language, I just have concerns.
It's probably a smart thing to do. Like you said, plans can change by the time they get to phase 3.
It often does. Oftentimes in development, you'll get partway through a project and you'll find out, you know what, single family's not working here, we need to put townhomes in, or vice versa, just things change. It just changes. And you want to protect the township to make sure that even though you've approved it, they've got 50 homes now, that, you know, if that was the end of the project and they just avail, you could get that emergency, that second entrance in the.
Mike,
Just a question, Mike. You're saying 50, you would say 40?
No, I use 50 as a number, so you can already beat 40.
So how would we allow to get to the 50, I guess?
Because this language said, as long as you make provisions in future phases for it.
So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that was the point.
So before they even built the 41st home, I don't think you'd want to enforce that.
Correct, but what I'm saying is, say you have 30 homes in phase 1, 20 in phase 2, 20 more in phase 3. Phase 2 sits in this middle, you don't need it in phase 1. Phase 2 gets you to the point of, okay, you're gonna now exceed 40. And the language in here is saying you need to make provisions for that. Provisions for means, yeah, I make provisions in phase 3, I'm gonna build it. Well,
No, you're right.
okay, that's a bit of a problem, because you may not build phase 3, you may go bankrupt, you may change the plan, you may, for whatever
Could we
reason.
not deny the signing of building permits?
What's that?
Could we not deny the building permits?
Oh, no, once you've approved the plan, you're gonna have to issue building permits, you're gonna have a massive problem.
Yeah, I would say,
So I think there should be something in there to protect the township, saying, provision doesn't mean just, yeah, it's gonna be in a future phase, okay? How are you gonna bond that it gets into that future phase if you quit?
I'm just wondering if we even need this, because it's, even if it's phased, if it's more than 40, the development, I know it could be in a phased approval process, but say it's 30, you only have to do 1. I think it's more protective for the guy that only does 30 and then adds the 20 to get to your 50, like your scenario. Because then they can say, well, you know, there's 2 separate phases. So the first phase I put 1 entrance, and the next phase I didn't have to do anything because it only had 20.
No, because remember, the early part of the ordinance here says existing road, or existing homes count. So you're gonna be at 50 on that street. And it makes a lot of sense to not have a second entrance until later. Say you've got a larger piece of ground, and you're gonna connect this road to this road. You're gonna line through here and put in 3 phases of development.
Yeah, I understand.
You're not gonna do this one, and then do one in the middle. You're gonna do this one, then this one, then this one, finally connect.
But when they propose it to the planning commission, they would show all the phases, right?
They do.
And you'd say, like, you're gonna have more than 40, so you have to put 2.
True, but what this is saying you must make a provision for that second entrance. That provision is, yes, it's in the plan in phase 3, there's a provision for it. That's what this is saying. It's unclear now what provision means. I think provision has to mean it's a bonded provision in some sense, not a, yes, it's drawn on paper provision. That's where I'm stuck.
I think we all agree with that now, that you've explained it. Is there a
know the
downside?
language.
Is there a downside to that? Can we think of any reason why we wouldn't want to do that? Anybody?
No.
Okay,
Not
let
just
me put
Bob.
on my developer hat. My developer hat says that is a huge problem, and here's why. Oftentimes, there's a lot of excavation work in development, you're balancing dirt, all kinds of other things. And you gotta put this road in through phase 3 to get to your access to the other road, whatever it happens to be. That means you're gonna do excavation, likely you're gonna do stormwater. because you've got a road that's gonna be paved, that's stormwater access somewhere, then you're gonna pave, so you're putting in 60% of your development cost in phase 3 in phase 2, or you're bonding 60%. That's a tough nut to crack for a developer. So I'm just telling you, it's a tough thing.
But
From a financial
having a
point of view
bond
as
would
well.
be cheaper than actually building it, correct?
Was that?
If
Carrying
the,
a bond would be cheaper.
No. Remember, the way a bond works, in real life, the way a bond works is either the developer, say the phase 3 costs $1 million, just picking it up. The developer is gonna have to go to a bank and come up with security for $1 million. He usually uses the ground that he's building on, has that collateral for it. But he's not gonna have that collateral yet. So it's a tough thing to do to get the bank to give you $1 million. If you go with unsecured bonds, that's a big nut to crack too, in terms of getting a bonding company to actually bond you with unsecured collateral, basically. It's just very expensive. So I'm not saying you need to be totally sympathetic to a developer. I'm just telling you, the reality is it's a tough nut to crack for a developer. To bond a phase, he's actually, or bond 60% of a phase, he's not actually building at the time. From a bank.
so is there a happy medium between the tough nut for the township and the tough nut for the developer?
Well, we gotta protect the township. seriously, so.
Sadly, I think you have to protect the township. I think you need to go into it aware of the burden it puts on the developer and make the conscious decision that, you know what, we still have to protect the township. And if the developer comes back and wants to, you know, negotiate, claim some hardships and all, so be it, maybe we can do something else. But I think for protection, I think we should be putting this in here, something like this.
Yeah, and I still think if he has access to that secondary road, he may not keep expanding from phase 1 into phase 2. He could come in from the other road and put another 40 in, and then eventually meet in the middle, because then he's not dealing with 2 undeveloped sections of land, he's dealing with 1, right?
Not usually. Usually what you would end up doing is you would plan the development around the way you can handle your stormwater most effectively.
Okay.
So that you would plan your stormwater ponds and your road through that phase and all that will then accommodate future phases as you build. So it's unlikely that that same stormwater, especially under the new regulations with stormwater, that stormwater will be able to accommodate that. So anyway, it's.
Can't we just take out the word provision and just say exceed 40 units without a compliant secondary access, and then they'd have to put in a secondary access when the total number of dwelling units exceed the 40. So we're taking out the word provision, you're just requiring it when it exceeds 40.
I don't know, because I don't know that you want to. The concern I have with that is that if you build 2 phases, and that second phase gets you over the number, but phase 3 is where you have your secondary access. The issue you have is you're requiring him to now bond all kinds of other infrastructure that he wouldn't necessarily have to have. Water, sanitary, same things, not necessarily, they may not apply to you, but those things are in there that are gonna have to be bonded then. That just make it that, why would they have to be bonded if you're never gonna build that phase? If you actually go bankrupt, Township's not gonna put in that infrastructure. Township's only gonna put in a road, if they even do that, which is unlikely.
Well, what if because we've talked about this before, what if the developer just defaults on the bond with you know,
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to bond it enough that the township could go and do the excavation work, pave it, and handle the stormwater. The things that are necessary for the access, not the ancillary things.
so it's
like,
a performance bond. So.
yes, these are all performance bonds. What we're talking about. Performance bond will get you the access portion of that phase 3, but not all of phase 3. It keeps the developer's costs as low as possible still to get what the township actually needs to protect. The township doesn't need to protect sanitary and water and things. If there's no homes built on it, doesn't matter. Township needs a road to get access to these units that exist.
Do you recall what kind of requirements you've seen in other townships where you've built developments? Have they,
There's never been any requirements like this.
so
I've never seen.
we'll be cutting
requirements.
some new grass there. Huh?
Yeah, I've never seen.
I did an
any-
AI search for other townships in Pennsylvania that had this.
Mhm.
The unit numbers are lower, they're even lower than 40, they're 20 to 30 homes, so it gets into a very more restrictive class.
I'm not arguing that we should change our number any. I'm just arguing that if we want this kind of ordinance, let's protect in these multi-phase environments, how are we gonna get that access built if it's multi-phase?
I agree. Mike?
We actually have this requirement in our existing ordinances. So just something.
What do you mean, what requires?
No more than 20 dwelling units are permitted on a single access road in the district, the village district. So I mean, that's all it says. I mean, but I'm glad you're going to. Okay, this is section 300-19 of the Lancaster Township. Texas review that.
But the village district's a small portion of.
Yeah, it's just a village district, but we're saying do it throughout the township. I'm just giving it as a reference that we already have this, but not nearly as, detailed as you guys are doing, which I think is great. Not sorry. But basically it says it allows 20 living units on a single access road. I'm sorry.
It states that it's no more than 20 dwelling units permitted on a cul-de-sac,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
That makes sense.
is a little different, but it's.
Yeah, no more than 20 dwelling units per one cul-de-sac in the district.
'Cause that could be a mile,
Right.
if you string big homes.
So anyway, all I'm proposing is we change that language enough to protect us. I don't know how to write that, Tom.
I would take out the without provision and just let them do a waiver for whatever reason if they can't do it in approach. And basically, your statement's gonna say, we won't allow a phase unless you have two accesses. If there's a hardship for some reason, they come to you and plead their hardship and consider it, since it's a saldo requirement, you can give it a waiver. But I wouldn't give them the out, I would make them ask for the out.
I don't mind that approach, because that allows for that negotiation phase of, yeah, I can bond you the access road that'll get you out there. And so you're guaranteed safe. Yeah.
Temporary roads.
Okay, so that just,
And is it more than 40 or is it 40 or more?
I think it's 40 or more.
I'll change that reference.
Yeah.
I just want to be
Yeah.
clear all the way through it, that that's the intent of it's 40 or more. It's not.
Not
This,
exceeding.
what we approved before was, or what we have in the salad is more than 40, containing more than 40.
Correct. That's
It exceeds 40.
So we got
so,
right.
So
yeah,
41
41 and
would be-
above, you need two roads, right? That's what we agreed.
40.
Keep it at that.
So 40 is okay.
40
Is okay.
39. More
Yeah,
than
go ahead.
39.
No, it's more, it's
Possibility of removing that, which is fine.
more
They can come to, assume the board of supervisors ultimately will make the decision, so this question is really for our solicitor and for Tommy. Would we at that time be authorized to say, yeah, we're gonna give you a waiver, but we need a bond, or a performance bond?
Well, they would come to the planning first.
They come to planning first with their recommendations.
I agree that, but I'm just saying, it's ultimately, you guys, I guess you can recommend it.
Oh, we recommend, yeah.
Right, but I mean, we would have legal right to say, we want a bond, we want to agree with what the planning commission's right, requesting a bond. Is that legal for us to do the supervisor?
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll have to fall back on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I think you could ask
legally
for
say,
any
no,
of
we're
them.
not going.
I know, but I also want to have the option, which you're suggesting, you need the bond, you know, performance bond. I mean, I'm not trying to do that, hard nose, but yeah, I would,
I think-
just want to make sure.
Yeah,
I'm learning this stuff, because there's a lot of things we're learning, and I'm finding from our solicitor that, don't say that, don't do that. You know, it's like,
I- yeah, the standard is put in a second road. If they can't, they come back and ask for variance or waivers or whatever, and that, they're at the mercy of us and the supervisors, whether we'll entertain those waivers, right? We could say, nope, it says right here. But if they say, look, here's make a good case as to how they can meet our concerns and still get their work done through bonds or, temporary access or, whatever they propose. Okay.
So what you're proposing, Tom, is simply strike everything after the word units in it without provision of a compliant secondary access. Is that what you're proposing?
Again,
I'd be good with that.
I'm sure you need it. Cool.
That effectively
That's it.
takes care of this. Hold on a second. I have some comments and some other stuff too. On the pieces down at the bottom of that. The question at the bottom, or near the bottom, we may want to make this modification to 243 28th Streets instead of a new section. And that's correct. The salary should just be reflecting this. And then there was a question on cul-de-sac. I had, this is the second to last thing. It says, in addition to any maximum cul-de-sac length requirement, developments exceeding 40 units of development five. And my comment on that is I don't think we need that language. Or I should have said, let me read what I wrote. I don't think that this is the language that we want. What we really want to say, that any cul-de-sac that exceeds 40 homes must also have an additional means of egress. And I actually rewrote an alternative. Let's see. In addition to any maximum cul-de-sac restrictions, cul-de-sacs that include more than 40 homes must provide an additional means of egress as contained in C1. What did I put here as a comment? Yeah, I did. My note in this was, an alternative could be to simply restrict cul-de-sacs to a maximum of 40 homes. The reality is, as soon as you provide a secondary access to the cul-de-sac, it is no longer a cul-de-sac anyway, unless the secondary access is provided by means of emergency access, which I'm not a fan of. So the truth is, I think you can probably get away with making it 40 and be done with it, because if you want the emergency access, it becomes a road and now it's not a cul-de-sac anymore, and it doesn't matter. But I think you should have some kind of language in there.
So what if they had, their plan consisted of one road in with 40 homes on a cul-de-sac, right? They wouldn't need a second entrance, but they would be exceeding our 20 home cul-de-sac rule, right? Is that correct?
No, correct. And I don't think we have a 20. I don't think we should have a 20 home. I think we should have a 40 home that's consistent with the 40 home here.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. And if they need to have 41 homes on that cul-de-sac, they need to have that connect to something else, and it's no longer a cul-de-sac anyway. Right. And it's as simple as that.
I would agree with that. I mean, I like the idea of the 20 homes on a cul-de-sac, but I can envision where somebody wants to put in a single road or the cul-de-sac at the end, and they want to meet the 40 homes. They don't have to have a second entrance, which is fine. The terrain around here, I don't know. I guess they could get a 40 home cul-de-sac, but it doesn't matter.
They
Look
certainly
at a plan
could.
like Timber Ridge.
Mhm.
Timber Ridge, we have 36 homes. It has one entrance, but it has two cul-de-sacs. Both cul-de-sacs have, 10 homes each on those, and then you've got maybe 20, I'm just picking numbers, 20 homes on the road that goes in that splits to the two cul-de-sacs.
Mhm.
Now, where's the definition of cul-de-sac anyway? Is the one cul-de-sac the whole thing and then a second cul-de-sac off of it? So is it 30 homes and 10? Is it 10, 10, 20? That definition becomes fuzzy too. So I think just keep it with 40 and be done with it.
No, I'm good with that because, we're coming to the realization that there's other scenarios besides a nice little stamped plan with these nice little 20 home cul-de-sacs, right? We have other scenarios where they could put more in and they still meet our safety concerns.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and the village is already covered.
Mhm.
So if you have in that district, you already get the 20.
Tom, concerns?
I don't think you need to spell out, again, as that 40-unit cul-de-sac, because I think it'll take care of itself. You do have that other provision in your ordinances, so I don't think you need it.
So you're saying throw away the cul-de-sac sentence and, or
Yes.
not add the
Not
cul-de-sac?
as that.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing.
Your zoning ordinance, if there was something along Route 19, has an access overlay section which encourages people to combine entrances so you don't have a lot of entrances, you have fewer entrances. So I guess you could have multiple entrances or multiple developments off of one road along the Route 19 corridor as it stands, to encourage that you don't have a lot of, multiple entrances on Route 19. So this doesn't really cover that because you're going to have potentially multiple entrances of multiple developments going through one another to get access. So I think you're still covered. If you don't want to create something that's going to violate the zoning ordinance later, you're going to be getting into that. So I think you're fine.
Any other comments or concerns with this stuff? Anything we're missing?
So these standalones, they have to go through public review and totally independent, right? They have to have their own game plan.
Right.
But what we'll do is the core language in this, that exact core language, the core language that goes into the Salvo section, or the zoning ordinance section is appropriate. Data center stuff will go into the zoning ordinance section.
Yep.
So we'll just copy that language and they'll just make sure the wrapper around it is adjusted to
Section header.
And the only wrapper language change I think we made was take out traffic congestion, I think was the only thing I saw in that.
Okay. Tom, you clear on
Yep.
what we're doing?
Once those changes done, I will give you a red line and that should wrap up that section.
If you want, Tom, I already have all this in. If you want, I can just do a red line, send it.
I did it while we were doing it.
Okay.
It was easier.
That's fine.
We have two members that asked to be excused a little bit early today. They have a commitment if they want to get out of here at 4. There's not a whole lot of time to start other things, so I think we'll try to get out early. Well, I'm not shutting it off right now, but I'm not going to dive into.
Just as a comment, one of my homework assignments from the last work session was regarding the data centers and wells and what the distance should be for a well to protect neighboring wells. Currently in the ordinance that was reviewed, it was 1,000 feet. Talking to the hydrogeologist, that's more than adequate to make sure that there aren't any issues. The concern is there's no basis for that 1,000 feet. So DEP's largest distance in their requirements, if you were to basically drill a well for a community water system, you need to be 400 feet away from any residential or other wells. So the thought process was if you made that 500 feet, then you have some basis to support 500 versus 1,000, which could be difficult based on how big the property is. To give you a little bit more teeth than that, if somebody challenged 1,000, when you have a property that's only 900 feet wide for some reason that goes on, very, very deep, they potentially wouldn't be able to drill that if there was a well that was close. So that was the only stipulation, is to consider that regulation change from 1,000 to 500 feet, but that should be adequate.
Is it 500 feet from the border of the property or the?
It
Or
currently is from the property border, as opposed to trying to find somebody's well where that distance is. So the protection is you got some conservative numbers with that somebody's not going to build a well on the property line itself.
So it's not so much the, and I agree with you, Tom, it's if there's any impacts,
Correct.
Any future impacts. So you have to notify anyone within 3,000 feet of the property boundary that you're putting a data center in. You got to do a groundwater study. It's got to be a certain volume. But if there's any impacts, that's where the teeth are.
Correct. So you could have them do, if it's within 1,000 feet, you have them do studies to make sure the wells aren't being affected. But realistically, to say that you've got to be 1,000 feet away to drill that well is where I think somebody could challenge you and say, well, that's there's no merit for that.
No basis. Unless you've done studies, which we haven't, so we can't really prove it's the.
That's, I mean, usually the biggest law wins, because it's where the water is, where it goes, but I think 500 feet would be a better number to sort of hang your hat on something.
So, in other
Yeah,
words,
I'm a fan of making sure that our ordinances are strict, but enforceable. Enforceability is the key. If we go crazy on some of these things, if we put 10 homes for a secondary ingress, egress, you know, we keep opening ourselves up to challenge if we go too restrictive on any of these things. So I think it's got to be an acceptable balance between it. I don't want to get too deep into the data center thing too, but one of my comments that I didn't see, and I liked a lot of what you had commented on in the data center stuff, was that I didn't see anything with respect to testing wells independent, testing virtual wells independent of you drawing a well on your own property. So if you're going to use public water, there was nothing in there saying you need to test those wells. I think we want testing. I think testing is good, and it's mainly related to the impact of the excavation work that goes on. That's one of the reasons we want it, is you're disturbing the surface as you're making cuts and fills, and you're changing things. And we want to protect the wells around us from those excavation disturbances, not just the groundwater extraction issues related to it. So both come into play. That was the one thing missing that I saw.
I thought we had talked about that.
It's in what we talked about. It was, E2I, determination of the effects of proposed water supply system on the quantity and quality of water in nearby wells, surface waters, and the groundwater table. This could include a test of wells within 1,000 feet pre-construction.
But where are you at?
2,000.
I know, that to me is an issue.
Which sheet did you?
It was page 5 from the last one we were working on.
so that was gonna be one of the questions I brought up. Yeah.
What we were working on the last.
That was gonna be one of the things I wanted to bring up before we quit, is we do have two different versions that are very different, trying to say the same thing floating around. If one, I think Mike started on, that,
Okay, Mike, give us.
Well, I
And then-
actually prefer the one Mike started.
okay,
And that you commented on, and we extract provisions from the one that I had worked on before that are missing from this.
good,
And then the other big one that I saw that's missing is light, the impact of light. And I actually even asked a question in the email that was circulated around. Can we find any standards out there for how many foot candles of light on a pitch black night should exist at the boundary line of the property? I think a standard like that, if it exists somewhere that we can use, much like the sound studies. I think the definitive sound studies and criteria that are in the ordinance that Mike had is way better than what we were playing with. Those are measurable and enforceable. The stuff that we had was sort of fuzzier. It was sort of there, but unenforceable. If we could do a similar thing on light, you know, the impact of light on neighboring properties, that'd be great. I don't know if something exists, but if someone knows how to find something, I'd love to start with it.
We have an ordinance that does that. It provides 0-foot candles at the property.
Okay, good.
I could provide that language. The only to me, it wouldn't be specific to data centers. It would be any development.
Well, we could do what we want. We can make it in the industrial zone.
I just put it in there for now, yeah.
But let's start with some language. Would be great, because I thought it would be great to have something like that. I guess my question is, what do you want the agenda to be for the next meeting? The next meeting, how much time are we going to need on the plan?
Their preliminary plan had a lot of detail. So, to me, the only thing you have in front of you is Paige Place. So the final plan with their HOP is the only thing. I don't know if it has changed enough that you're going to need to spend a lot of time.
So we'll have time to work on this at the next actual meeting.
okay, so
Recreation?
I was just gonna say, do you wanna finish up the recreation next week, at our next meeting? And then we'll have the saldo, at least at a next level of final draft. We'll have this is complete. And then the workshop, we will focus back on the
Back on the data center.
data center.
Okay, as long as we're on the same page and
Mhm.
concentrating on what we're gonna refresh ourselves on.
Right.
So, Tom, there was one missing section here that, when I was exchanging notes with Mike, it's called the emergency response section for the data center.
Okay.
I'll send you that.
Send me that.
Yeah, so that was missing. If we want to use that version, I don't know if that's mutually agreeable. Use the latest version
Latest version
of
of
the data center.
the Mike's version.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we start with that. If you wanna look at the email I sent,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
incorporated some of
That
the
was good.
comments from ours and put it back in.
I was just saying, there was a missing section from that one, that Mike and I shared, swapped with each other. It's called the emergency response.
Okay.
I'll send that to everybody. And then we can do the recreation.
Yeah.
That's almost the end of the saldo, isn't it?
That's the end of the saldo. Then we'll have to have a solicitor look at some of the boilerplate in the back. I think that was our next step, but I'd like to have that final draft that we just updated, ready to go. And then I think we can get there at our next meeting, which will be after the Paige Place review. And then we'll focus on the data center at the next workshop, or the whole workshop to do that. Unless something changes, which it always does, but for now. That'll be our plan.
We definitely need better acoustics in this place. Even sitting here, it's tough sometimes.
You want me to set up that microphone system? It's pretty easy.
No, I just know that the echo in this place.
That's why I try to sit near you all the time, because I cannot hear. Even with hearing aids, I
That
can't
fan
hear.
goes on, you can't hear it. Actually, it's hard to hear. Wherever it is.
I normally talk pretty loud, but I probably drop down in volume as I'm speaking.
Hey, it's
so.
tough. That's why I try to sit here, and even with hearing aids, it's still hard to hear it.
It's this acoustics is just terrible.
Has anybody heard the sound system in this room? This thinks it helps.
I think it helps, yeah. When it's a full supervisors meeting, it absolutely helps, yeah.
You think it would help out here?
I don't know, I don't think we have enough microphones, and I think we would just have to share them, be spotted.
We need a surround system.
Let's just try not to.
We just need some acoustic panels, that's all we need.
Doesn't that have a speaker?
Look who's sitting next to you though. That's easy.
Hey, the next thing I'd like, before we adjourn here,
Public comment?
we now have a big TV, a monitor screen out there. And I think it would be ideal if we set it up, even if we have this kind of a setup and we put the monitor over where Connie's at, she can keep her camera right next to it facing us. I don't think what's on the screen has to be there, but then we can all see what we're all looking at the same thing. And what I'm thinking, yeah,
Sorry to interrupt,
it won't there.
So if you guys could switch up,
Uh-huh.
we need an outlet, so the way we have it set up, we plug it into that outlet.
No outlets over there.
Sorry.
I can just one on the floor right
No,
now.
like this long, and it's long, we can get an extension. Oh, there is one.
There is one on the
Oh,
floor.
okay, there you go, sorry to interrupt.
And I was just trying to keep the camera in the same spot because of the glare. But if we do that, I'd like somebody who's good at maneuvering on their laptop to just kind of be the person who gets us on the right page and keeps us up to date on the things and, is it,
Most townships.
I can't, yeah, go ahead.
Most townships put something on the screen, and typically a zoning officer or something like that is controlling that screen,
Mhm.
bringing up the plan that you're talking about. So even if the developer gets up in front of you and says, we're gonna talk about grading page plan, the zoning officer would pull that page out, show it so everyone can see, and then the developer can talk about it.
Right.
And move between pages, answer questions, whatever else.
So Paul,
That's
the
a
way
great way.
we do it in supervisor, I control it, I put the agenda up on the big screen there, we also put it up on that screen. And then as we talk the budget or whatever else, I just scroll through so that everybody can see it there, so.
For this kind of
Somebody take
yeah.
action.
For this kind of a meeting, I think over there, because we have, but in our regular meetings, put it over there. I'm pretty good with laptops and working that stuff. I can get it all hooked up, but trying to talk and run the meeting and then having to deal with a little screen and setting, moving everything. I know it's gonna be slow. So
I
I'm
can
just
do
looking,
it. I'm capable enough.
I'll help you get connected.
I'm just looking for someone who's willing to, who's good at navigating and quick on the, because I can't even see my screen hardly anymore.
I think it'd be good for us also to have like a township map as reference.
I have that.
That we could just pull up
Mhm.
and be like, here's where Paige Place is.
So
Visualizations.
let's plan for next time. Mike, maybe
I'll come early.
I'll come early.
I'll be Meredith. I'll send you a copy of the zoning map.
Meredith
Proposed zoning map.
is our technical.
Well, ideally, you should have PDF from Paige Place.
They get no extra
If you have a
remuneration.
But we should.
We should. I did ask.
Yeah.
We will. I think we'll have them by
And
the
make
week.
sure we get that to Meredith, and she can pull up that plan, and when whoever's presenting it is saying, he's talking about such and such a page, Meredith can be on that page, and we can all see what's being talked about. It actually is very frustrating when we're trying to independently look at something, or review old papers, or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
I can make active comments on it too.
You know, and if Mike, if you can ever get us teams, we can all have our laptops up and we can all be looking at the same thing.
So there's a reason for morality of supervisors. And always agree. So I have to admit that, yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I'm a little close to it.
So we don't have we didn't have the site licenses to do that? I'm just asking.
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear, no, we
We do
do not.
not, okay.
Yes, so I'm not opposed to moving people's licenses to people that actually use them.
It's the big screen.
It's right when you walk in.
It's right now, we got it back here. Gotta be careful with it, it's a stand-up on It's okay, don't go kart.
When you're moving it, have two people because you got to get over the threshold and just have two people front and
Oh, it's
back
in the hall?
steer. Yeah.
It's, yeah, by the code and stuff.
How big is it?
83 inch.
Wow.
That's decent size, yeah.
Jeez.
It helps.
And you're able to connect to both laptops through that that wireless connection thing.
Yes.
I know how to do one. I don't know how to do both.
We need the sound though.
I have a sound system, we'll bring it up, I'll show Dave how to set it up. It's really simple.
You do that too?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's audio.
That one is questionable.
Debbie? Sound? Sounds like?
I know, whatever that.
Actually, I'll ask, I'm going in tomorrow, I'll ask the group who sets everything up generally, so I will demonstrate for Ed, how to set up the sound system that way, like you said.
I'm home tomorrow. If you call me, I might be able to meet you up here at that time.
So I think we're gonna be here at 9, so if you want me, just be at 9,
Okay.
we just double check everything.
If I can't make it, I'll text you. If you don't hear from me, assume I'll be here.
Any public comment?
Any public comments? Connie?
Okay, so I wasn't gonna make any, but things came up. So I agree definitely on the well situation and all these tested. Even if it's near development, because the people in Saltworks, they're starting to see issues since the two developments are made, and they have no access to public water. Two, the highway engineer, that was also a resident, that spoke at the last meeting. I'll mention that we need to take a close look at the whole Route 19 corridor. One stop will be driving south on 19. Because you have the bend coming on the log cabin, you know, and traffic's just increasing from there down, has drastically increased. And then 3, after reviewing the plans a little closer from what the log cabin wants to do on that section right there, with the parking and the gravel islands and stuff, and the entrances, I don't think it's gonna make it any safer. Honestly, just look at the spacing and how they want to do it, and after going through there all my life, and as I was talking with that highway engineer over the weekend, and she's only been here 5 years, and what she has seen, she's like, we don't know how it's gonna work, and safety. Because the trucks come down, not only just the refrigeration trucks, but other people come down, because you're sitting there to make the left-hand turn on the Saltworks, they don't stop rarely. They come through there, they go around you through that parking lot. Sometimes they slow down, but that 9 times out of 10 doesn't happen.
What, do you have any ideas on alternatives? I mean, we know we don't like what's there now. And
you're not gonna be able to fix stupid, I can tell you that right now, and I think it's gonna make it worse because people are gonna get confused coming up there when they're gonna go in and out. If you take a close look at the drawings that have the gravel islands on that upper parking lot that they just built recently, there's no arrows going in and out. And what I was looking at too, where they have it down, they're removing the parking from the front of the building. So you have that current in and out road right there by the southern parking lot. People are gonna be coming in and out of there, blocking it. So you know, whether they're trying to get out of the parking lot or blocking it while they're trying to get in and find a parking place. It actually looks like with them setting everything back and angling the parking and stuff, it looks like it's actually making it even tighter.
That's also why I was asking about site lighting. Like, is it gonna be lit enough at those new entrances for people to see where those gravel areas are? And if there are arrows?
I mean, you can kind of see it now in that area with the parking, I mean, with the lighting that's there now. But if you're coming up through there and you aren't familiar with it, it's gonna be still a mess.
You know, I looked at the lighting when, after you mentioned that, going home, I turned left there on Sullivan, so. That front parking lot is pretty dark.
Yeah.
Especially in the corner, well, away from the road. The road's pretty lit, but as you go deep in that parking lot, it's pretty dark in that corner.
So
My eyes.
Yeah,
Not light.
I guess it was just 30 years ago, now, 25, 30 years ago. Well, probably about 30 years ago, when it used to be 3-lane through that area on 19. That was with 55, it used to go all the way through the township as well. So when you were coming down through there, you just get a good old fashioned log cabin bar. You had hardly no problems other than the drunks fighting and stuff like that. But you rarely had an accident with the 3-lane highway. You rarely had problems with people pulling in and out. And it had maybe 2 lights out front. And that's it. So, and you had a lot more truck traffic than you have now. That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, 8:15, I think we got you out of here on schedule, so we're gonna adjourn the meeting and see everyone at our next main regular meeting.
David, what's the